I have heard people complain. I have heard people give excuses. One of the most common excuses that I have heard was that people being poor, not having enough money, or their parents are poor and unable to clear out their path. Such a shame, isn't it? People get trapped or are unable to pass this certain point. Well, I was living in a house with a leaking roof and one bed. Now I own one house and one mansion, and I own an apartment complex. If being poor was my excuse, I would still be under that leaking roof and my parents would be suffering alongside me. The thing is, many people don't realize the power they hold within themselves because they are afraid to push forward. They tend to hide behind their excuses. We call this a terror barrier, and we can call these excuses the comfort zone. Let me tell you something. Both my parents were cleaners. If the company says leave, they had to leave. Most of the time I come home to listen to their arguments, and the rest of the time my baby sister would cry her heart out. I didn't have quality time to study, but I never complained. When I say you don't know what it feels like to be poor, what it feels like to know that you are poor, you can't empathize with that feeling till you actually experience it. Yes, you can try imagining it, but you can't feel what I felt. Most of the time, it was an embarrassment. I was a boy who cried a lot in secret, because I had no one to teach me that being poor is not a crime. It's not a failure. Being poor is not an embarrassment. Do you know what's the biggest rabbit hole you fall into when you understand that your parents can't even afford to pay the bills or fix the roof? Getting used to it. When you get used to certain situations, it becomes a habit to accept what you have. Yes, it's good. Easy for your parents, easy for you. You don't hope for more. Don't wish for more. And that is where we all are wrong and get stuck. Getting used to is okay, but not wanting more is not okay. This is where you start getting comfortable being who you are. Call me selfish, but I wanted more. I never complained to my parents. As a child, I had a dream to become rich. I didn't want to stay poor. Nobody does. Many belittle themselves under the excuse of being poor. Being poor has nothing to do with your skills, your courage. But in the reality, not every person has the courage to take risks and try something beyond their ability. We call it the terror barrier. I was once stuck in this barrier, not only as a child. As a child, I didn't know. As a teenager, I knew, but was afraid to take the risk to take a step forward. When I first had my internship, I saw how people with skills handled other people and how people with money handled people. I wanted to have both. Many laughed at me, told me to know my place. I was sick and tired of hearing it. I despised how people belittle me just because my family was poor. I wanted to change that. I wanted to be wealthy. But I was afraid that if I fail, people would laugh at me. That was my terror barrier. According to many, a poor teenager like me belonged to the labor level only. I would have to work day and night, and I would get just enough to live by. It's better than trying something new and losing what I had. Right? So, I wanted to stay there, in my comfort zone, earning enough to manage my life daily. But I fueled my urge to become rich, become wealthy. To do that, I understood that I have to stop listening to people who tell me I can't. You see, our mind is very fickle and easy to trick. When you start listening to other people's negative thoughts, you subconsciously take it and involuntarily step back. You get these thoughts like, I'm not enough. Another person is better than me. I would mess this up. I don't have enough money. So and so. Excuses. But if you push away that negativity, take control and observe yourself first. You start to see what your true limits are. When you know what you can do, you want to push past that limit. That is how I broke my terror barrier. Listen to me. I wasn't the brightest candle, but I did my damn best. I finished my internship, and I applied to the best companies I could. I failed 6 interviews, not because I wasn't enough, but only because I was doubting myself in the first place, even before facing the interview. Another terror barrier. The first was fine. By the second and third interviews, shame started to take over. One day, I just cried outside so much that I couldn't even face my parents that day. But when I went to my fourth, I realized it was the same structure. The only difference is the questions they ask. By the sixth failure, it just struck me out of nowhere. Why am I wasting my time in places that don't want me? If they don't want me, I'm going to make my own place. I realized that it's not that I'm not good enough. It's simply not where my talent lies. And this is where I made up my mind to be a businessman. A person who can control others. Of course, the path wasn't rainbows and sunshine. But the moment I stopped being afraid to take risks, so many options became my answers. So, don't stop. Keep pushing till that barrier breaks and opens up the path for you. I took all the opportunities head on. I got used to challenges. You never know your limits till you try. My monthly income is over $600,000. I have my fair share of stocks as an investment. I drive a Lamborghini and I only bought one. Not because I can't. It is unnecessary to my lifestyle. Always know what you need and your limits. Not only that I'm a millionaire, I have the power and chance to let my parents and my sister enjoy the best of their lives. For the world, I'm a rich person. Nobody reminds me how they treated me when I had nothing. I and my family and one friend are the only ones who know how I got here. Hell, if I can be this, you can be more. Because I'm living proof that being poor is not an excuse for not being able to have the life you dream of. You may not share the same experiences and barriers as me, but it is the same for you as for me. You need to push past that limit, break that barrier, and be who you want to be. To do that, stop making excuses, start making plans, and act on them.